Welcome to the Mental Advantage Podcast. Whether you're an athlete trying to perform at your best when it counts the most, a coach or business leader trying to get more out of your team, or someone looking for more personal growth, this is the place for you. This podcast is your map to guide you to the right mindset, systems, and strategies you need to become the best version of yourself. And now, here's John Cullen and Brandon Allen.
All right, welcome to the show. So we are really fired up today to have Tyler Gillum, who is not only is he the associate head coach at South Mountain Community College in Phoenix, Arizona, and has been in college, baseball, been a coach in college baseball for quite some time. But Brandon, I think a lot of our listeners will be happy to hear he's also and maybe I would say more famously known now as the head coach of the Savannah Bananas, which everybody knows is just taking over social media.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as a baseball guy, and we talk about this, make no mistake about it though. Tyler is a very talented young head coach. He's got a couple of different, camps and books or programs, I should say, that are out there. And he's a great guy that has a wonderful story, really kind of betted on himself early and it's paying off. And I think for the listeners to hear how the selflessness and what his goals are, the way that it's ultimately paying dividends and success for him personally, I think it's a wonderful listen for sure.
Well, and he talks about this in the interview, but it's one of those things that he, I think, made that commitment to start helping others. And when you make that commitment to start helping others, then these good things start to happen for you. And he made that commitment early on, and he'll talk about how that transformation took place for him. But to your point, I mean, Tyler, like I said, he's been with South Mountain Community College for a while. He works with the infielders primarily out there, his third base coach. He's also a health and wellness faculty member out there. We didn't even get into that during the interview, but I mean, he's been, certified functional range conditioning and Titleist Performance Institute. I mean, he's got a lot of experience and expertise in that, exercise, which I know is dear to your heart as well, arena. But he is somebody who has spoken at the ABCA conference or big convention a couple of different times. And as you pointed out, the clinics and the workshops, he does a clinic on infield clinic that he calls the All You Can Eat Infield Camp. And then he also has the Green Light Special, which is a base stealing or base running, I should say, program, and then the Growth Toolbox, which is developing skills to change your life. So lots of really good stuff with Tyler. And I think the listeners will hear in this interview, and I made a comment to him that it's jokingly, like it's the world's most interesting man. But as I started to research him and started to unpack like some of the different roles he has at South Mountain, some of the things he's been able to do in summer leagues with like the Savannah Bananas and up in the Cape, you're like, man, he's 35 years old and he's got just all kinds of stuff happening. Like he's one of these guys that has a personal goal to impact 1 million people, and he's on his way. I mean, he legitimately
he may get there before he's 40. And oh, by the way, just so you're clear, he's got a background. His family has a background in rodeoing. Right. So I mean, like it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. So get ready for this one, guys. It's going to be a fun ride. No pun intended with the whole rodeo reference there, but we appreciate you guys listening. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can reach us at podcast@mentaladvantage.net. But get your pen and paper ready. Here's Tyler Gillum.
Well, Brandon, as we mentioned there in the introduction, we have Tyler Gillum on the show with us today. And man, I'm so excited about this because you talk about somebody you've got like and not to put any pressure on you, Tyler, but I think about the world's most interesting man from those Dos Equis commercials. You've got a lot of stuff going on, brother. You are doing you've got your own coaching gig at the college level, and we'll talk some about that. And of course, everybody is starting to know you more and more as the head coach of the Savannah Bananas. So welcome to the show. We're happy to have you.
Hey, I'm pumped to be here. You guys have done a great job so far, and I'm excited just to talk shop with you guys. So let's get into it.
Fantastic. Well, Tyler, I would be remiss if I don't talk about the fact that, one of the things, ironically, for as probably known as you are now as being with your involvement with the Savannah Bananas, one of the things that first caught my attention about you was actually a Twitter post that you had used through your Twitter handle at Gillum13. But I was scrolling through Twitter one night and I came across a post that you had put about betting on yourself. And it really caught my attention because, the whole purpose of this podcast is mental advantage, how you become the best version of yourself, and resilience and relentlessness and that perseverance is something that really attracts us to it's a common theme, I should say, among a lot of the people that we talk to. And in this post, and I'm just going to kind of highlight it, but in the post you were talking about how, you started out the job out there at South Mountain Community College as a facilities, working in the facilities, kind of doing the, maintenance, I guess it was, and waking up early hours. If you would just talk a little bit about kind of how that journey got started, because it reminded me of something that we talk about a lot is burn the ships mentality. It's like sometimes you just have to say, I'm all in on this and I'm going to be the one that's betting on myself.
Yeah, we that was actually our saying as a team last year, that burn the boats. Our Savannah Bananas team, we had an unbelievable group last summer that went 40-10 and won the CPL championship. And every day there would be random dudes roll in, burn the boats, baby, burn the boats. We're here. They don't want it. They don't want it more than we do. So it was a special group last year, but yeah, I can resonate with that quote for sure. And the bet on myself tweet. That's honestly, I think it's a little bit, from the craziness of growing up being the son of a bull rider. My dad, bull rider in Oklahoma forever. And I grew up in that environment. And, I think those guys are the most underrated tough athletes in the world. Nobody talks about those guys enough. You think about getting on a bull that wants to kill you basically, and it weighs 10 times as much as you do. And you got to figure out how to stay on 8 seconds. And sometimes that's a metaphor for life, right? It's you don't know which way he's going to turn. You don't know how he's going to buck. You might just need to get to the next 8 seconds of life, and get to the next moment. And, I think you got to figure out what you love to do. Those guys that are bull riders, they love to ride bulls. Like they wake up, they think about it. You look at the story of any of the bull riders, but JB Mooney being one of the best bull riders of all time, and just some little things that he did to be great every single day. If you go back to some of his documentaries, you can see JB Mooney standing on a basketball for hours in his shop at home. Yeah. So really? You want to know where he got really good at balance? Yeah, it was probably that, And so that little tidbit is figure out what you love to do. I think that's the message more than anything. And then just fight like hell to figure it out, never give in. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. I've never really worked a day in my life ever since, I started coaching baseball. I've never thought about doing anything else. Whether I make a lot of money or no money, I'm going to be coaching baseball. And, that's kind of the premise of it all. So a little background story. My high school coach, how I got into coaching. So my high school coach is the winningest high school coach in the nation in high school baseball. He's now retired. There's one other guy that actually beat him out this year, but he won over 2,120 games in high school baseball. And I'm here today because he led me and kind of helped me grow up at a young age, kind of led me in a direction, and not from words, but from with actions. That dude would outwork you every day, and he'd tell you about it too. Hey, there's no shot you guys are going to outwork me, right? And so he led by actions. I think that's important. But going into Seminole State Junior College, where I played JUCO ball at, it's one of the best junior colleges in the country in Oklahoma. The traditions are unbelievable there.
Yep.
Taught me a lot about toughness and overcoming any adversities. The workouts there are pretty special. We have morning weights at 5:30 in the morning. We have what you call burnouts. It's basically you do 45 minutes of weights where you do as much as you possibly can on some type of exercise, and then you do about 100 more reps, and you don't feel like you can do it, but you figure it out, right? And so you break down a lot of walls, and you figure out, your limits aren't as much as you thought they were, right? And so that taught me a lot of toughness and overcoming adversities going from Seminole. My high school coach really moved me to coach baseball. And so I've never wanted to do anything else in my life except coach baseball since I was a sophomore in high school. That's all I've ever thought about. And I think that's what got me through college, right? Is I wasn't great in a lot of ways from like talent wise. I could really turn a double play and I could really bunt. I could run a little bit, but I wasn't hitting a bunch of home runs. I wasn't going in the 6 hole, making the Jeter play all the time. Like my knowledge of the game, my love for the game, how hard I played got me through college. It got me college scholarships. And so anyway, I went to East Central University, which is a D2 school in my hometown in Ada, Oklahoma. And I went there because I knew they had a grad assistant position in sports administration. So I could coach as an assistant coach, a grad assistant, and I could get a master's degree in sports administration. So I pretty much made my choice to go there because I knew it was going to filter me into the coaching world and get my master's paid for, which was going to open more doors for me. So anyway, the bet on myself is after I finished my master's degree at East Central, so I was at East Central for 2 years, I basically looked in the mirror a little bit and said, okay, I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to network. My goal is to be at the Division I level in 3 years. And so I said, okay, where is the one spot where I can go and grow and learn as much as I can and network more than anywhere else? And I thought that was Phoenix, Arizona. I think that's baseball heaven.
Sure,
and so what I did is there's 8 community colleges in the Phoenix area, right? In the Valley of Phoenix. And so I emailed every one of those coaches in May of 2011. I said, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm driving out to Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm coming to Phoenix. Like, I'm coming to coach there. I don't know where yet, but if you have an opening, I'd love to interview. And so my heart was already set on South Mountain Community College, where I coach, because when I was at Seminole, we would go to play there at spring break, during spring break.
Oh, wow.
My first vision of Phoenix, Arizona was South Mountain Community College. That was the first game I ever played there. And little tidbit, I actually hit really well that weekend. And so I'm like, I got to go back to that place.
There's something special.
There's got to be something magical about that place. So anyway, Todd Easton, our head coach, gets back to me, says, hey, I've got an opening. Would love to interview when you get here to Phoenix. And then there was 2 other schools too that I met with. So I drove out 17 hours straight, crushing Red Bulls, and I almost hit a moose on down the hill from Flagstaff. Yeah, so I made it through, got in at like 4 a.m., do basically a couple tours around Phoenix for 2 days, interview, and then head 17 hours straight back home. And on the way home, Todd, our head coach of South Mountain, said, hey, I'm going to offer you the job if you want it. I have no money, but I know you worked on field maintenance before. And so if you want to jump on board, I'll see if I can get you this field maintenance job. And so I was like, heck yeah, $9 an hour, no benefits. I got this master's degree. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. So I just wanted to figure out how to make ends meet. Like I said, my love is to coach baseball. And I knew if I got myself immersed in that area, that I would make connections, I would learn. And Todd's one of the best persons to work for in the world. Like he's given me so many opportunities to be creative, to do new drills. He doesn't micromanage you. So like, it's been an unbelievable spot to grow as a coach, because you can, try some things. Kind of like with the Bananas here. We try 5 to 10 different promos or entertainment things every single night at the ballpark. Some work, some don't. It's the same thing on the skill development side. Some drills work, some don't. Some work for some people, some don't work for others. And so that's been the greatest thing about South Mountain is working for Todd and him giving me a lot of rope to, really do whatever I want to do. So,
well, yeah. And one of the things that I really liked about that whole message was that in 2017, when you set that goal about trying to impact, your life goal was to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball, education, and exercise. And then you say, it led to other opportunities that weren't driven by money, but by opportunity to impact others. I recently heard, I don't know if you're familiar with the Success Hotline, but with Dr. Rob Gilbert, I would highly encourage it if you're not. It's a 3-minute message he leaves every single day. I think he's on like day 47,000 or something crazy like that. But he recently quoted a teacher and a coach on there that said, I'm not in it for the income. I'm in it for the outcome. I'm not worried about how much money I can make, but what a difference I can make in others. And I thought of you instantly with this because I'd already started research for this show and then heard that particular episode of Dr. Robin was like, wow, that's Tyler, right? I mean, it's all about that servant leadership. It's all about how you can help others.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, I think that's a phenomenal quote. Like I said, I got into it because my head coach in high school, Coach Collins, he pretty much saved my life. My background story is, my family struggled with alcohol addiction and drug addiction. I've got multiple family members that have been in and out of jail, and baseball was my cathedral. It was my gateway, it was home for me. When I was having bad times, I'd go to the baseball field, and just sit in the dugout, and Coach Collins led me in that way, and so, we won 4 state championships in high school, but Coach Collins taught me a lot more about life than he did about baseball. And he's a pretty damn good baseball coach. And so, I think that's where it originates from, is his servant leadership. And, you get into this thing, and what you start figuring out is it's about people overall. And if you figure out and you win the people war, right, and you create those relationships, you'll get all those other outcomes that you want. What I tell a lot of coaches sometimes is, if you're a high school coach and you want to get to college baseball and coach college baseball, get your players there first. If you want to get to pro ball, get your players there first. If you want to get to the big leagues, get your players there first. And if you get them first, you'll get some of those opportunities. But kind of unpacking what you said, with the, having a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball education and exercise, that really started in 2016 when I started listening to podcasts. All right. And I was coaching the Texas Collegiate League. I was driving home from College Station, Texas. It's a 16-hour drive. And, I listened to almost every Red Dirt country song you could listen to. I said, all right, what else we can do? And so there was this little purple app on my phone at that time. And I was like, what's this podcast thing? And so, I started listening to Entree Leadership, and I listened to it for 16 hours straight on the way home. Wow. And one of the business leaders on that podcast said, when I was starting a business, my goals were to make $1 million. And he said, when I changed that thought process to impact 1 million people, I ended up getting all the goals that I wanted to check off, but it was more about servant leadership. And that kind of stuck with me. And then I also teach a healthful living class at South Mountain. I've taught it for 10 years. I've probably taught that class 35 times. It's one of my favorite classes. We just talk about being successful in life and living a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, goal setting, time management, a lot of these different keys. And so in that class, I show a video of Will Smith talking about setting goals so big they scare the hell out of you. And so, I was reading a lot and watching a lot of videos and following a lot of really successful people in 2015 and 16. And then in 2017, it led to me setting, I'm going to set a goal to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball education and exercise. And that was kind of the genesis of that goal. And a lot of people, when I said it, was like, how in the hell are you ever going to do that? Like, how are you going to know when you reach that number? And my thinking was then, and it still is like, I don't know, but I know eventually, like, if I get to that point, it'll show up. Somehow that number will show up. It'll be obvious, and it'll say, yep, you did it. But, that's kind of the genesis of it. And I thought, if I just keep that focus, if I keep that as my North Star, then eventually it's going to lead me there. And so that's kind of how it led me to the Savannah Bananas, to be honest with you. In 2017, I started coaching in the Cape Cod League with Scott Pickler, who's about to become the winningest coach in the Cape Cod League. Wow. And I was coaching with Pickler that summer. That fall rolls around. My buddy was then the head coach of the Savannah Bananas, Sean West. And he was having another kid, and he called me and said, Gillam, I can't coach next summer. They're looking for somebody that can, wear a kilt, think outside of the box, and speak in front of 5,000 people. I think you're that guy. Are you interested? And I said, hey, man, let's have some more conversations. Give me some more details. And I was already following, but they were already selling out games then. And I figured I needed a new challenge. And so my thinking was, can we collaborate and do all the craziness, all the dances, all the outside of the box, sell out all these crowds? And can we have the best skill development and dogpile at the end of the summer? So when me and Jesse Cole, our head coach, first started talking, or our owner first started talking, I said, man, you're killing it on this side. I see your vision. I hear your vision. I know what you're trying to do. I can think outside of the box there. I want to help you achieve that. But also where my heart lies is skill development and growing men and helping them reach their full potential of getting to Pro Bowl or whatever that is for them. So you think we can marry the skill development and dogpiling at the end of the summer with the entertainment? You think we can combine both of those and see what we got? And I think, really, we've done it really well since 2018. We've won more games than anybody else in the CPL league. But, this past summer was really special. I felt like we kept bringing the needle there. And then we had this special group that had a ton of returners on it, a ton of toughness, a ton of, guys that were outgoing, that were selfless. And, that's why we were 40-10. But, that's kind of the genesis of it. But if anything, going back to bet on yourself, going back to setting that goal of having an impact on 1 million people is, figure out how you can help others, and eventually you'll get what you want out of it.
So Tyler, I mean, for sure, what you just said there, and then the way you describe that special team, right? We hear all the time that teams take on the personality of their head coach, right? And the best teams are always coach driven or directed, but player led, right? Yeah. And so to hear you talk about the selflessness, it's not surprising that you have a team that models that behavior after you. What's really interesting to me is, as a former player and thinking about, I have this entertainment aspect, right, that the Bananas have, but I still want to perform. Like, that's got to be a little more challenging mentally, because it's not always about necessarily me performing. I mean, I think it takes a special athlete to do what you guys are doing, right?
No doubt. And it starts in the recruiting process. But, in a nutshell, it's about this right here.
Flip the switch.
Nice.
This is the shirt these guys earn. We give incentives a lot to the guys that do really good on the entertainment and the baseball side. So if you perform on the field and you do something really cool on the entertainment side, you win one of these shirts. We've done this since 2018. And when I got into this environment in 2018, you see all the craziness and you're like, okay, like once I got here, I had to be immersed into the culture to kind of figure out how everything worked, So for the first couple of weeks, I was observing a lot. I was looking at all the entertainment, and what I found out is like, hey, we need a script. Like, we didn't have a script in 2018. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of like we had all these promos, and then they would kind of grab some players when that promo was needed. Like, hey, we need 3 guys for the second inning. All right, next inning, we need 4 guys for this.
Right.
And so there wasn't a whole lot of preparation or routines built in. And that's, as an athlete, that's what it's all about, creating that routine and being prepared, not just physically, but mentally, and being great at both the entertainment and the baseball side. So in 2018, we created a script. And so what I did was the entertainment crew and the coaching staff sat down together and said, okay, you guys bring me everything that you guys want to do for the day. All right, starting at 5:30 when we open the gates and we greet all of our fans, we do the Hey Baby dance, and we give high fives, handshakes, and hugs. So we call that H3. So that's us breaking down the player and the fan wall, right? I think a lot of sports have that wall up. We break that wall down and create connectedness. And so that's why I think Banana Nation has got as big as it has, is because there's not that wall up. Everybody feels like they're part of the family. But, we had that plaza. We know exactly what our routine is with that. Right after that happens at 5:40, we come into the locker room. We do a pregame video. All right. Right after that at 5:50, we go out. We have a VIP experience. So some of the kids roll around and play catch with us, right? And then it continues on throughout the night where everything is mapped out. And then I basically plug and play where we need to put our players for that night. Now, a lot of the entertainment that you see is a lot of pitchers that are not hot that night. Makes sense, right?
Right.
What are you pitchers doing when you're not hot that night? You're in the bullpen.
Right.
Yes. They were doing it anyhow. Yeah.
We just gave them an actual job to connect with fans. That's really all we did, right? They were already building sandcastles.
Yes, exactly.
Causing problems in the bullpen, right? So now we just gave them things to do, right? And so we just made it more intentional. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is figuring out how with the script, you can give everybody a job. It's kind of the Bill Belichick, do your job. All right, you come in, you look at the script at 3:00. Everybody shows up 3:00. You look at the script. All right, my jobs are this and this for the day. I've got to get my routine and my work in around those 2 things, whether I'm a pitcher or a hitter. And it's a lot of a pro mentality too. Like, I'm not going to hold your hand on stretching. I'm going to give you some details of dynamic stretching, how to get yourself prepared. Right. We're going to talk about those things. But if you want to be a pro guy, I'm not going to hold your hand. You're going to have to learn to be a pro guy and get yourself ready every single day, right? And so there's some structure and guidelines. I like to think of coaching as kind of like guardrails on a bridge, and that's what I am, all right? And I give them some direction, but I give them some freedom to drive around a little bit, right? But if they get too far off, they're going to run into that guardrail. So I got to get them back on track. But that's kind of the thought process on the philosophy of it. We want to be great on the field. We want to be great in the stands. I think incentives drives a lot of that. So you figure out, how do you motivate these guys to do a TikTok video, or to get on the dugout and do the YMCA in a spike collar, or do the ring dude, right? So we got ring dudes like you got in boxing. You got the chicks in boxing, hold up the sign. Well, our baseball guys do it on the dugout, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you motivate those guys? Well, but this shirt is one of those, the flip the switch mentality. And flip the switch definition is going from entertainment to baseball to entertainment to baseball without a loss of enthusiasm or focus. All right, and being really good at all of those different areas. And so, I'll give you a specific story of a guy that can flip the switch with the best on him. We had a guy from Kentucky that came in, 6'8" pitcher, right-handed pitcher. His name's Alex Deegan. He came in as a freshman. His dad showed up and said, "Hey, my son's a little bit shy, but once he gets to know you a little bit, he's going to open up. He'll be all right." And I said, "Okay." And so he gets into it. We throw him right into the fire. You're doing the players' dance in the second inning, opening night. The players' dance is a choreographed dance with 4 different players in the second inning. So we throw him in there, and he stands out like a sore thumb, right? He's 6'8". Right. So he kills it. He opens up. It gets him out of the comfort zone. Like, mental advantage, boys. What do we talk about all the time is being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
That's
right?
it.
Absolutely.
You're going to get thrown into the chaos here a lot, right? And you figure out, hey, you're not going to die doing a dance. You're not going to die, doing a TikTok or dancing on the dugout. You're going to be fine. You're going to be all right. And so it breeds a lot of confidence. So anyway, season goes on. Alex Deegan's one of the best pitchers in the CPL. the Bananas, our senior citizens dance crew, they nicknamed him Alex Dancing Deegan, and he had his own swan dive, like the dolphin. It's actually called the dolphin dive that he would do. He had his own move. Oh, wow. And at the end of the summer, he ended up choreographing dances. Okay. He took over some choreographing dancing, and he was an all CPL pitcher at the end of the summer. So that's kind of what Banana Land does to you a little bit, gets you out of your comfort zone. And that's kind of how you marry those two, you know, that's flipping the switch.
It's all really great. And it's funny because I actually, with some of the college teams I work with, I use flip the switch a lot from a little bit of a different perspective. It's that idea that this is just something you do. You're just you're a baseball player, you're a volleyball player, you're a basketball player, whatever the case may be, but it's not your identity, right? So it helps them understand when I come to the practice field, I'm flipping the switch from student or, individual to that baseball player, but then after that, I can flip that switch back. But one of the things that's interesting when Brandon was asking that question is, I think from a mental game perspective, I was actually thinking about it as, yeah, it does take a special player to do this, but I'm curious, have you observed, Tyler, a difference in the way that players, like one of the things that I think a lot of baseball players really athletes in general have a tendency to do is they play tight, right? Well, if the expectation is to play loose, you can't play tight. So it's almost becomes probably one of those things that I think if this is the environment they've created there, have you seen that impact on those players as far as a performance standpoint? Have they recognized it in themselves and said, man, this is amazing how much better I am at the plate or how much better I am pitching because I just don't think of it I don't think of all of the outcome that I do in a normal situation.
It can't be their only focus, right? No. I mean, it's Jordan in the flu game.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
yep. I think about that.
Right.
Think about that for a second. How many times do you see guys play well when they're sick? Right. Because the expectations aren't there. They go in like, man, I just got to grind through this and get to the next pitch, really. Get to the next play. That's the mentality, right? Banana Land is sort of like that, guys. There was actually a Georgia Southern professor in 2019 start doing a study on our players because our owner, Jesse Cole, went and did a speech at Georgia Southern, and Curtis Sproul, who's I think he's a mathematics teacher there at Georgia Southern, was in the audience, and Jesse said, when you put on a Bananas jersey, you play better. Mm-hmm. And Curtis said, there's no way that's true. There's no shot. So him being a mathematics guy, he ends up doing a statistics study on us, comparing the school stats of players to their banana stats, right? So their summer stats. And then comparing it to the rest of the league, the other 15 teams in the league, and seeing what the correlation was. And what he ended up finding was that Bananas did play better in this environment. And so it goes against the grain with a lot of traditional coaches of you have to be serious all the time. But you guys know it as well as I do. When you see the best players play, they play with fearlessness. Mm-hmm. They play with this freedom of, my hair's on fire, it's a free flowing state. So they're not really worried about outcomes, and so I think that's really important. So from a statistics standpoint, we've actually seen that. And then I think that's how guys play best. We talk about the green light special in my base running system. Right. It plays a role in that whole environment. Everybody has green light. We look for windows of opportunity. I try to educate those guys on what those tendencies are of pitchers and catchers and defenses. And then we create havoc. It's pressure burst pipes, speed never slumps. That's kind of the mentality of it. And so we give them free. Honestly, you can ask this new group right now. We've got some guys that can really run, and they're not running enough, and we're leading the league in stolen bases. I'm telling you guys are scared. You guys got all these opportunities, and you don't pull the trigger. What is that? And so I'm breaking down. We've been here for like 2.5 weeks. So I'm breaking down those barriers and those bricks, those walls that have been built up over time of don't you get thrown out. That could cost us. Right. So they've got all that stuck in the back of their head of like, I don't want to fail. Like I'm trying to I told 2 of them last week, I said, my goal is after the game is let's talk about you getting thrown out. I want if you don't get thrown out, then I'm going to be pissed. I want to see you go and make a decision and go, yeah, you know, my jump wasn't good or my lead wasn't good or he slide step and I should have shut it down. Like, hey, let's press the issue on something because my thinking is this, guys, and I do this at school ball at JUCO too in the fall, is how can I get these guys to play to their full potential so when we get into the playoffs, there can be that Dave Roberts moment of the Red Sox when everybody knows he's going to steal against Rivera. Everybody in the world knows he's going to go, and he can have enough cojones be able to go and make it and get a good jump. All right. So sometimes, you know, if you're watching one regular season game and we get thrown out and everybody's like, Gillum, that was stupid. Why are we running right there or whatever? Because I'm trying to get them to the point. I'm not thinking about just that moment. I'm thinking about when we get to the playoffs, will that guy have enough cojones to make that move? Because it's going to show up.
And that's what makes you a great coach is that, I mean, just listening to you talk, Tyler, it brings up so many different questions. I mean, I think about what you talk about being fearless. And I know as a player, it would scare me to death to have to dance in front of 5,000 people and then have to try to go rake or whatever, you know, but to be in that environment and learn to be fearless, not in baseball, because, you know, the guys that are playing for you can play, right? I mean, that is probably where they are most comfortable. But to your point, they're in a comfort area, but still are scared to fail because of all the stuff that they hear or have heard. And now all of a sudden you have a coach that's like, hey man, let's see if we can go fail tonight. Like that's a different mindset, but what a huge opportunity. And for the listeners, understand what failure and someone pushing you to fail, what that can do for you is
learn aggressively.
Absolutely.
Aggressively.
Love it.
That's what I was going to say.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's an opportunity to learn. It's like, let's go learn tonight. You know, that's that kind of a thing. And I think it's a really, really cool thing. It reminds me a little bit of that, you know, whether it's, Nolan Richardson's 60 minutes of hell or whatever he used to do, or 40 minutes of hell there at Arkansas in basketball years ago. It's the guy it's the same mentality as the high school football coach here in Tennessee that onside kicks like after every score, never punts. Like it's that, you know, Brandon and I, when we were playing, we played against Central Florida back in the mid-90s. And, man, you talk about a team I've never felt more uncomfortable defensively against because they were constantly running, constantly bunting runs, hitting runs. Like they were always – you defensively were in motion as much as anybody. Yep. And anytime you get baseball players in motion without the ball, it's trouble.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I want to bring this up. So when I first took the job with the Bananas, one of the main quotes that I heard is, if it's normal, do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Whether that's from a marketing standpoint or that's from a, you know, coaching standpoint. So you bring up the football coach that onside kicks every single time or he goes forward on fourth down. What is that in baseball? What does that look like in baseball? If you think about it from the basketball standpoint with, you know, you see a lot of like, hey, we're going to get a shot up every 10 seconds now. Yep. That mentality is like over the last 10 years has moved a lot, right? And they start looking at different ways to play the game. Now you don't see very many mid-range jumpers. Right. You know, it's like a dunk or a three, right? And so whatever's normal, do the exact opposite, figure out what you can do, play aggressively. Like it's a lot of those mentalities, but you know, we could sit here and talk about, you know, the physical side of it, but with this podcast being the mental advantage, you think about what is the roots of playing like that, right? What is the roots to get physically fearless? And I don't know if you guys ever heard of a Navy SEAL called Richard Makowicz. You guys ever heard of Rich?
I've heard, not heard anything he's done, but heard the name.
Yeah, so he recently passed away a couple years ago, and I guess that's not recently, but he passed away a couple years ago. But it's a guy that I got into my healthful living class, and I share a lot of, just high level performers. And so look up Richard Makowicz. He used to do future weapons on the History Channel too.
Oh,
so
cool.
he'd go around and speak. And I listened to him speak to the Bengals one time, NFL team. And he basically gave this drawing board of where your focus is, right? And so he drew a circle on the board and he said, what are all the things that you think of during the game when you're playing? All the things that don't have anything to do on the exact play, and he put, you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about the last play, you're thinking about the play before, you're thinking about your coaches and what they're thinking, you're thinking about scouts, you're thinking about your injury. And so he puts all of these things in this bubble, right? And he goes, does any of these things have anything to do with the play in the moment? And they start erasing all of these, right? And the last thing that he gets to, the thought process that he gets to, is he draws a line on a board, okay? Just a thin line. And he says, on one side, you've got the future, and on the other side, you've got the past. And so if you're thinking about 25% of the past, of you making that error, if you striking out, if you making a bad pitch, if your head's in that 25%, and now you're thinking of 25%, oh man, my outing's not going to be good. I'm going to give up runs. We're going to lose this game. Scouts are going to not like me. I'm not going to get drafted. And you're thinking about 25% of your thoughts are in that motion. All right. And that only gives you, this line represents laser focus in the moment. And so that only gives you 50% of focus on the direct thing you need to work on at hand, the only thing that you can control, and that's this pitch. So if you go back to Brian Kane, this pitch, the next 200 feet, right? And so the question is, has anybody ever taught you to do a half-assed job? And everybody says, no, I want to do a half-assed job. Everybody says I'm giving 110%. Well, that's not how it shows up if my focus is 25% in the past and 25% in the future. So can you get absolutely laser focused every single pitch? And that's the hardest thing to do. That's what you're training every single day. Can you go from this to that to this to that and get in the moment and be there every second of the day, whether that's, whether that's life, going from, job to home or whatever it is, phone call to phone call if you're a salesperson, or if it's pitch to pitch, play to play.
It's the hardest thing, Tyler. Trevor Moawad in the book, It Takes What It Takes, talks about it as neutral thinking. Our mind's always thinking either in the future or in the past, but it's hard to be in that present moment. And when you can get people, Kaner talks about it as, if 70% of the time, he kind of does a similar exercise and he gets people to start throwing out there the things they're thinking about during baseball games or whatever. And He's like, if 70% of the time you're thinking the things that you can't control, we have to just, he says, you're not ever going to get it to 100%. You're not ever going to be 100% present moment focused. You just need to reverse that ratio to 70% of the things you can control and 30% of that focus being on the things that you can't control, because it's realistic, right? We got to set ourselves up to make sure we're having those realistic thoughts. Talk to us a little bit, and I want to be cognizant of your time. But so we talked a little bit about the bananas, and one of the things that I was really curious about when I started to research this was banana ball. We hear a lot about the different rules, and I'll go over a couple of those here in a second, but I'm curious. I know on your all schedule, there's games that you have as banana ball, games that are CPL games, the Coastal Plains League games. Like, what's the difference there? And what's that difference between the premier team and the CPL team? And just, if you would, just maybe unpack some of the things about banana ball.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because that question's been asked a ton over the last really year. As we started the banana ball, and we did the one city world tour last spring in Mobile, Alabama, and now we did 7 cities this past spring. And so the difference is, in 2016, we started as a summer collegiate team, right? You fast forward to 2019, and every summer league or every summer team in the country, summer collegiate team in the country, has their summer season, and then the rest of the 9 months they're trying to figure out how to survive. So they're doing a concert at the field. They're doing a 5K. They're doing a food truck event. They're doing all these extra things to try to figure out how to survive and make money as a business for the rest of the 9 months. And so our ownership, our coaching staff, everybody kind of gotten involved. We do a lot of idea paloozas within our culture. So we get in a group and everybody just starts throwing stuff on the wall. And one of those main things that we talked about in 2019 was, hey, we're really good at the summer collegiate baseball side, customer service, merchandise, how we ship. Like we do all of these things really well in the summer. We've sold out every game. How do we do baseball year round? We're really good at this. Let's quit doing these things that we're just doing random stuff. How do we do the baseball thing year round and bring this environment, bring the show to all these people year round? And what does that look like? And that's how we created Banana Bowl. And so we got, kind of in a group and everybody's throwing ideas on the board. With our owner, his vision and mission has always been to make baseball fun, right? If you get on our website, it says we make baseball fun. Our LLC name, the business name, is Fans First Entertainment. So we figure out, hey, how do we make it fans first? What do fans want? And how do we make it fun, right? And so Jesse's like, how do we take baseball where a lot of people say it's boring, it's hard to watch, it's slow, and how do we take that and how do we make it faster? How do we make it less boring, more entertaining? And maybe people that don't like baseball, they want to watch this. And so that's how we started, tricking with the rules a little bit. And so, for me, stealing first base is one of those rules with Banana Bowl. Right?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So there's no bunting, there's no mound visits. You can't step out. It's a 2-hour time limit. So one of our things with Jesse Cole, our owner, he's always said, how many people actually go to the movies and they leave before the ending, right? Yeah. Nobody goes to the movies. You're not going to the new Top Gun movie and you're going to leave 45 minutes in or an hour and a half in, Some people go to baseball games and they leave at, in the 7th inning, right? Why don't they stay till the 9th inning? Nobody goes to the Top Gun and doesn't see the ending, right? You got to see the ending. So we're trying to figure out what does that look like? How do we make it? It's a TikTok world right now. It's a lot of go, 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 go. How do we think outside of the box? If it's normal, do the exact opposite. And so that's how Banana Ball originated in 2019. We went to Lander University, D2 school. We played the first Banana Ball game in the fall of 2019. What really intrigued us is that game was played in 99 minutes. It was fast paced. The players liked it. And there was one pitcher that struck a batter out in 12 seconds. And you're like, whoa, that was kind of cool. Right? I mean, what's going on here? There's actually scouts in the stands that night, and they were like, dude, what is going on? That was pretty cool. And, you guys being college baseball guys, like when you go through the fall, you enter squads, so you change rules up, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Play, so you start with 1-1 counts.
Yep. Yes.
You start with the runner on first or second. You
create situations.
Yeah.
That's right. So one thing that we want to do with Banana Ball is we want every inning to matter. Every inning should be a walk-off if it's possible. And so that's how the scoring is actually made in Banana Ball. You have to win every inning. Kind of like a boxing match, you're trying to win every inning.
Yeah.
So that makes it really interesting. And then if you get to the end of the game, the 2-hour mark, and you're tied, all right, from winning the innings, if you're tied, you go to a showdown. And so the showdown is the pitcher versus the hitter. You have one position player. All right. And the hitter, if he hits it, he tries to get a home run. If he gets a home run, you get a home run. All right. And so anyway, going back to it, that was the origination of Banana Bowl. So we said, okay, let's do a test. We do tests all the time. We're not scared to do anything. We're learning in Banana Land. All right. And so what we did was so you fast forward. All right. We learn through COVID year. We played Banana Ball like 4 times during COVID. Nobody was playing summer baseball. We were like the only team playing summer baseball. So because there was no other teams to play, we played the party animals. We created the Savannah party animals. Right. And so it was at that time, it was college players that were in the area that wanted to play ball and couldn't because of COVID. So we played them 3 times. Fast forward to spring of 2021, we say, hey, we're going to take the show on the road. Everybody wants to come to Banana Land. How do we take the show on the road? And so what we end up doing is we decide we're going to go to Mobile, Alabama, and we are going to play the One City World Tour in Mobile, Alabama. And so we just sold out Friday night, okay? And there was a ton on the waiting list that wanted to see it. So we said, hey, let's open up Saturday night. They sold out Saturday night. All right. So 2 nights in a different city, bringing the show on the road, and they sold it out. Right. So we go there. It absolutely blows up. Absolutely blows up. There's people lined up like thousands deep, ready to get into the show. Right. And we're in a different city. And so we kill it that night. And I'm like, man, people really love this banana ball thing. It's different. It's outside of the box. It's faster. There's entertainment. Okay. All right. We learned. All right. Let's go. So we go into summer 2021. We play a couple banana ball games as exhibitions. We continue to learn. And it keeps getting better and better and better. Just keeps tweaking it. Right. Go into that fall. We start planning the second world tour. So you go into 2022. We end up having 7 different cities that we're going to play in. All right. So now we have 2 teams. We have the pro team, which we call the premier team, and we have our summer collegiate team now. All right. The premier team that played this past spring got paid. All right. So they were here for 6 weeks. Pretty much all food, drinks, all that stuff's paid for. You eat at the ballpark all night. Right. We have a refrigerator that's stacked with food. We have sweet post-game meals. They have host families. Our host families are awesome. The city's unbelievable. The beach is 25 minutes away. And so for the first 6 weeks, we paid these guys $2,500 is what they got paid. So pretty close to what an independent ball guy paid. So our goal is to pay these guys more than they've ever get paid in independent ball and minor league baseball. So we're working towards that. All right. So that was our first test to be able to do that. All right. And so we went on this world tour. We sold out 14 games. It absolutely blew up. Our TikTok went from 800,000 followers to I think we've got almost, I'm losing count.
Crazy.
It's like just going up. I think it's close to 3 million now. Wow. I haven't looked at it in a week. It just keeps going. So I don't even know. It's somewhere around 3 million. And so it just keeps going crazy. And we have 58,000 people on our wait list to come see games. Like we're busting at the seams. Right. And so that's kind of how it's originated. We have our pro team, the guys that get paid, and then we have the CPL team, our summer collegiate team. And so in the summer, we just play CPL baseball, right? It's real big, but it's still all the entertainment. We just can't have the guy like throwing on stilts, right? Right. Playing bats, but we still do all the walk-ups. Like majority of what we do in banana ball, the crazy entertainment, we've been doing with our summer team forever, right? And so that's kind of the insight. We have banana ball, pro ball team that gets paid, that travels the country. Next year, we're going to like 20, 25 cities. Wow. We've had 4 big league teams reach out and say, hey, do you guys want to play in the big stadiums? And so we're like working towards that. We're probably going to do that. And I think that vision is going to be more 2024. We'll see. But the crazy thing that you guys need to know, and you need to put it on your calendar, is January 2024. There's going to be a Carnival cruise ship, banana ball,
come on,
fans only.
Amazing.
Let's do it.
Out of Florida, we're going to go to like the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Dominican. We're thinking about all these places. We're going to play games. It's going to be like a 5 to 7 day trip, and it's only going to be banana fans. If you don't think that sucker's not going to sell out and be the most fun you'll ever have, it's crazy.
You need a podcast. You need a podcast to cover that, Tyler.
Sure.
I think, and I have one in mind. Yeah, it's funny because the one thing I want our listeners to know is that amongst all of the fun is some really good baseball.
Really,
like
good
it's
baseball.
not just.
Right.
This is not. Somebody the other day we were talking about this because I was telling them that you were coming on the show, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's like that Harlem Globetrotters team," and I said. Yes and no. I said they do the entertainment aspect of it. I said, but at the end of the day, these guys are still playing good baseball. I said, not that the Globetrotters weren't, but it's somewhere amongst all of this is still some good baseball. So that's what I love about it is there's so many fun things that make it entertaining, but at the same time, for those purists that are like, I still want to go out there and see somebody deal for 6 or 7 innings or whatever. So you probably get this question a lot, but I'm curious if you could take a rule from banana ball or 1 or 2, maybe I'll give you 2, but if you could take 1 or 2, having kind of experienced this for a while and take it back to the college game or back to the pro game, which ones would it be? I
love the still first. I told you like green light special, base running, like if it's a pass ball, you can steal first base. My joke all the time in college baseball, when people ask me about stealing bases or whatever, or maybe a situation on a weekend, maybe we didn't steal very many bases and like we had a tough time hitting right that weekend. And, somebody be like, Gillum, you didn't get very many bases this weekend. And I go, I know, I'm still trying to figure out how to steal first base.
Right.
We didn't get any hits, so it's hard to steal second when you're not on base. Right. And so I don't know. Being a base running guy, I think the pass ball and stealing first is pretty cool. The other thing, I think it eliminates the throwing a breaking ball in the dirt as much.
Right.
Right. So you've got more strikes being thrown and more balls being put in play. So as a viewer, there's more excitement. There's more going on. So that's probably mine would be the pass ball stealing first base.
I like the one, and you I don't know if you mentioned this one or not. There was two fans catching foul balls for outs was cool, and then the other one was if you walk, it's a sprint, and you can keep on sprinting until everybody on the other team has touched the baseball. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we probably need to do like a Guinness World Book of Records of fans showing up with baseball gloves. I don't think that's been talked about yet, right? Because now everybody's like, if you're a 45-year-old dude going to a Yankees game or a Red Sox game and you show up with a glove, everybody's like, dude, that's a 12-year-old. Right. Now you get all of these old dudes in and they're like, dude, I'm getting this game. I'm playing.
I'm
playing tonight. Hey,
baby. They're back in the game, right? And so that's got to be a World Book of Record for the World Tour is how many baseball gloves are actually at the field because fans can get involved. I mean, how cool is that, right? One thing that's funny is we went to Kansas City. That was our last World Tour, and we actually played a Challenger Series against the indie ball team there, the Kansas City Monarchs, right?
Cool.
And so we're playing Friday night. We're playing Friday night. It's a tight ball game, and we actually end up fouling a ball off. This is the last inning, too. Time limit's up. We foul a ball off in the stands, and arguably a Banana fan caught a foul ball to end the game.
No.
That's so cool.
So like, okay, we don't have umpires in the stands for this right now.
Right.
So we started talking about, again, we're learning as we go. It's like, dude, maybe we need to put umpires in the stands because it was controversial.
True. I mean, little replay, video replay on that.
What it was, it was the banana. It was the Cubs version of Bartman. Like this, caught it. The chick that caught it, she started she sat down and everybody's standing up. She sat down and was like, I think she was trying to crawl under the seats.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's Bartman right there. Yeah. Dude, somebody's got to protect her. Somebody's going to try to beat her up.
That's awesome.
It's a ball game, right? So
that's so cool. When did the boots start, Tyler? When did you decide to rock those in the third base coaching box?
Yeah. So 2019, we always do like music videos, reenact music videos or movies, right? We've done the Titanic. We've done Backstreet Boys. We've done all these, League of Their Own was last summer. And so that summer, the song Old Town Road was booming, right? And so it was like, hey, we're going to do a reenactment of Old Town Road. Gillam, we're going to get you on a horse. So wear your boots. And, me growing up being a rodeo guy, being, my whole side of my dad's side of the family rodeo, and it's like, Gillum, wear your boots. We're going to put a cowboy hat on you or whatever. We're going to ride this horse and do this music video. So I'm like, okay, cool. And so with the theme that summer, it was kind of, a rodeo theme because of the song and the horse. And so Jesse, our owner, said, Gillum, what do you think about wearing boots in the first game? And I said, well, I mean, that's who I am. I wear boots all the time anyway, right? Normal, right? I mean, my number's 66 because my grandparents' ranch is the Gillum 66 Ranch,
Oh, wow.
So close to my heart, right? And so that started it. I told Jesse, I said, hey, man, it rains a lot here. I'm going to be doing tarp pulls in these ostrich boots. These things aren't cheap. So he's like, all right, you want a new pair of boots? Let's get on Justin Boots. Which one do you want? So he bought me a new pair of boots right there. I still wear the same pair of boots. I've actually got a lot of questions this year, like, hey, when are you going to get a new pair of boots? When are you going to kind of those need to go in the Hall of Fame right now, right? Or something, auction those off or something, And so we'll see how it goes. But that's kind of me being a part of the whole show is wearing the boots on the field. And so it's been cool.
Well, Tyler, we can't thank you enough, man. I know you're in the midst of it. You guys have to jump on the bus here soon. We definitely would want to have you back at some time because, as Brandon pointed out early in the show, there's so many different directions we could go with you. I mean, it's like I'm sitting here looking at my outline thinking, there's so much to unpack. Just from a college baseball standpoint, from a summer league standpoint, I spent 8 years coaching in the Valley League, so I know what that grind's all about. Which I was telling you, when we were trying to schedule this thing, that I'm not going to take you away from your day off. That was one of the days we had thrown out there, and I'm like, no, I'm not even going to think about doing that. But I definitely want to just remind the listeners. Oh, before I forget. The growth toolbox. We talked about Green Light Special, pressure reverse pipes. You have the all-you-can-eat infield camps and the growth toolbox, developing skills to change your life. Both of those still active things that you're working on. Want to talk about either one of those for a couple minutes?
Yeah, so my heart's infield play. That's my main niche. A lot of people know me as a base running guy, but really at the core, it's infield. I've always been an infielder. It's what intrigues me the most. I learned more base running as we went, and that thing's really taken off, since 2012. And so, the all-you-can-eat infield camps is a 3.5 hour infield camp where you get all you can eat on infield, right? It's everything that we do, everything that I've learned over the last, I'm 35, 30 years of playing baseball on infield and trying to be around some of the best coaches in the world on the infield side of things. And it's packed in. I usually have those. We've done them in Phoenix. We've done them in Dallas. We've done them in Oklahoma. We've done those infield camps here in Savannah. We've done them in Vegas. And so in the future, we'll be traveling to some other cities. And so you can kind of look out for that on the all-you-can-eat infield camps. But I'll say this. I've got one player here that's an infield guy. And, I've just touched on a couple things. He's been here for 2.5 weeks. And, we've went over a handful of things. We haven't even really scratched the surface. And he goes, Gillam, I swear, every time you talk on infield, it's like I've never been coached my whole life. And this kid just graduated. He's a graduated college player. So there's good things in that. Makes me feel good because I'm teaching somebody something, but also at the same time, it's like, man, I feel sorry for him because he hasn't learned enough over his college career, and he's a good player, right? And so, how can we get this out to more coaches? And, one thing, we'll see if it happens, but one thing I'm trying to create is Glove Fest. And Glove Fest is a infield camp for players and also a learning camp for coaches combined. Nobody else does.
That's cool.
So we want to be the first, only, and the best infield coaching clinic. Player coaching clinic in the country. And so I'm thinking about doing that in December. So I'm hoping I pull that off. Sometimes I pull myself too thin and try to do too many things. I got to stay laser focused on just one thing too much. So that's my downfall, is doing too many things at once. You can ask my wife. She, you're doing way too many things. You need to focus on.
You got a lot of great ideas. I mean, and look, proof's in the pudding. You spoke at ABCA in 2016, 2018, and that's no small feat.
Right.
It's, so that means you're bringing value, and you're definitely doing all of the things, from a value standpoint. You're an impressive dude. I will say this. I mean, just in this hour that we've had a chance to talk to you, I think you're well on your way to helping those million people. And I know that this podcast is going to add to that total because there's going to be some people that will be listening to this and hear from it. So, listeners, if you
both of those folks.
I'm talking about me and Brandon.
Yeah.
It's the first time. That's all it is.
That's it. So on social media, guys, on Twitter, it's at Gillam13. Instagram is also at Gillam13. That's GILLUM13. And then the website is gillambaseball.com. And then if you're looking for content on the Savannah Bananas, just turn on your computer. or go on a social media. I mean, seriously, it's all over. That I would say, I don't think it's a stretch to say world famous at this point because with all of the different social media platforms and things like that. I mean, you are rock star. The whole program there is, and I definitely want to get one of those shirts that you're rocking. The Banana Boys shirt. That's pretty cool. So we'll
figure that out. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, man, we can't thank you enough. Brandon and I will definitely make a road trip down there to Savannah this year. Is Love Zolo's still a pizza place down in that area? Cool. Have you ever heard of that place?
I don't know. Probably, man. There's so many good eating spots. I don't know of all of them, but maybe.
John, I think that's before you got to Savannah. Like
right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I always associate
he's asking because every time we go to play Florida State, we never got our per diem. We got Love Zola's pizza.
We got all the pizza you can eat.
All in.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, awesome. Listen, man, safe travels. Good luck with the remainder of the season, and just hope to have you back. You were awesome.
Thank you guys so much for having me, man. Love what you guys are doing. Keep killing it. Spreading the good word here, and let's do it again, man. I love talking shop, and the one thing that I always like to share, kind of to end, is people can give me accolades, whatever. You guys pumped me up, made me feel real good today, or whatever, but. Man, I'm really only where I'm at because I've been really fortunate to be around some awesome people, and I want to make sure everybody understands that networking piece. I got lucky to be around Coach Collins, who really put my life on a different direction. We won 4 state championships, like what he taught me in baseball. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't be here. I got really fortunate going to South Mountain, working for Todd East. And, I've been really fortunate ABCA wise to be around Jeremy Sheetinger and working a lot of camps. And, one of the best infield coaches in the world, Kai Correa, Kai's a bench coach for the Giants. And we met at a infield clinic in 2012 in Denver, and we got to swap infield stuff. And so like I've always said it, like I'm just standing on the shoulders of all these other giants. I'm now with Jesse Cole and this whole crew and organization of the Bananas, and it's grown. And so like any success I have, it's because I've just surrounded myself with awesome people and try to figure out how I can bring value. Whether that was me being a freshman in high school and just being a courtesy runner. Or, me being an assistant baseball coach or, whatever, field maintenance, whatever it is, how can I bring value? So if I can give any advice to anybody is figure out how to surround yourself with really good people that work their tails off and, bring some value and learn, no matter how little to small the job is, just figure out how to bring some value. And I know you guys are bringing value to everybody else and impacting people. So thank you for having me on again. And, I love what you guys are doing. So let's talk shop again sometime. I'd love to be on.
Sounds
absolutely great. Thanks, Tyler. We appreciate you.
Want to provide feedback or stay up to date with the show? Visit our Instagram page at Mental Advantage Podcast, or you can send us an email at podcast@mentaladvantage.net. To have John Cullen work with you or your team, please write to him at john.cullen@mentaladvantage.net. Thanks for listening to today's episode.